Biomed Nexus Daily Updates, your essential biotech, medtech, and pharma recap. No noise, just what matters. TLDR Novo Nordisk won conditional UK approval for Wegovy in MASH, the serious liver disease formerly known as NASH, in adults with moderate to advanced fibrosis. It pushes the GLP-1 franchise past weight loss and cardiovascular risk into a major new organ system. AstraZeneca and China's CSPC added renal disease to their research partnership, a new small nucleic acid collaboration. The timing is notable, landing days after Congress opened its probe into pharma's China trials. United Therapeutics acquired Thymmune Therapeutics for $140 million, picking up a thymus regeneration program with immune and rare disease potential. Scribe Therapeutics filed for a $75 million IPO, keeping the gene editing pipeline flowing to public markets. A correction on last week's Ipsen reporting. The up to $1.75 figure belongs to a separate Ipsen bid for Memo Therapeutics, not to the Kartos deal. More below, executive takeaway. The GLP-1 story keeps widening, and MASH is the frontier that matters most right now. Novo's conditional UK nod for Wegovy in metabolic dysfunction-associated steatohepatitis in patients with moderate to advanced liver fibrosis takes the drug into a disease that affects a large slice of the same population already on these medicines for weight and heart risk. MASH has been one of the hardest targets in drug development for 2 decades, a graveyard of failed trials, and the fact that a GLP-1 can now claim it in a major market says a lot about how far this class has traveled. It also reframes the competitive map. Novo, Lilly, with its own liver programs, Boehringer, and Zealand with survodutide, which we flagged last month for its fat, selective profile, are all converging on the liver. The obesity drug is becoming a metabolic disease platform, and MASH is the next flag on the board. Now the thread to watch this week. Friday, we covered the House Select Committee on China opening its probe into the China trials of the 5 biggest pharmas, with responses due July 17th. The question we posed was whether the deal flow would keep running into the political headwind. We got an early answer over the weekend. AstraZeneca deepened a China research collaboration with CSPC, adding renal disease. It is a research tie rather than a big licensing deal, but the signal is clear. The industry is not pausing its China engagement while Washington digs. Watch 2 things over the next 10 days. Whether any large China licensing deal gets announced into the teeth of the investigation, and how the 5 named companies frame their responses as the July 17th deadline approaches. That is our through line for the week, and we will pick it back up Friday. Read, full analysis GLP-1 and metabolic Wegovy just planted a flag in MASH, the hardest market in metabolic disease. Novo Nordisk won conditional UK marketing authorization for Wegovy, semaglutide, in adults with MASH and moderate to advanced liver fibrosis, according to the pharma letter. It extends the GLP-1 beyond weight management and cardiovascular risk into liver disease, a space that has frustrated drug developers for 20 years. MASH progresses quietly toward cirrhosis and liver failure, and until recently there was almost nothing to offer these patients. The approval matters commercially because the MASH population overlaps heavily with the obesity and diabetes patients already taking these drugs, which means Novo can expand the label without building a new prescriber base from scratch. It also raises the stakes for the wave of dedicated MASH programs behind it, including Boehringer and Zealand's survodutide, which we covered last month for its unusually fat, selective profile. The obesity franchise is quietly becoming a metabolic disease platform. Policy and China AstraZeneca deepened a China partnership just as Washington started digging into China trials. AstraZeneca and China's CSPC Pharmaceutical added renal disease to their research partnership, through a new collaboration on small nucleic acid drug candidates, according to the pharma letter. On its own, it is a routine early-stage research tie. In context, it is a statement. It lands days after the House Select Committee on China opened its investigation into the China trials of Merck, AbbVie, Lilly, Pfizer, and BMS, with responses due July 17th. AstraZeneca was not among the 5 named, but the move shows the industry is not backing away from Chinese science while the probe plays out. For anyone tracking the collision between the China deal wave and the political counterweight, this is an early data point that the deal side is not blinking yet. We will be watching whether a larger licensing deal follows into the same environment. M&A United Therapeutics bought a thymus regeneration play, and we owe you a correction on Ipsen. Euthera United Therapeutics acquired Thymune Therapeutics for $140, gaining a thymus regeneration program with potential across immune deficiency and rare disease, according to the pharma letter. The thymus is central to immune function and declines with age, so regenerating it is an ambitious platform bet rather than a single product play. Separately, a correction. When we covered Ipsen's Kartos acquisition on June 30th, we described it as $450 million upfront and up to $1.75 in total. Clearer reporting since then shows those were 2 different Ipsen moves. The Kartos deal was $450 million upfront for navtemadlin, and the up to $1.75 figure belonged to a separate Ipsen bid for Memo Therapeutics and its candidate Potravitug. We should have separated them at the time. The takeaway is unchanged, and if anything stronger, Ipsen has been unusually aggressive, doing 2 deals at once, which reinforces the point we made that the M&A wave has spread well beyond the big cap buyers. Capital markets, the IPO window and the financing taps both stayed open through the holiday. 3 financing moves show the capital environment holding up. Scribe Therapeutics filed for a $75 million IPO, adding another gene-editing name to a 2026 class that has largely traded at or above its debut prices. PureTech's founded entity Celia Therapeutics closed a $180 million financing to push deupirfenidone into Phase 3 for idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, and In Silico Medicine signed a strategic collaboration with Takeda to run its pharma AI platform across Takeda's therapeutic areas, extending the AI discovery deal spree that has already pulled in Sanofi, SK Biopharmaceuticals, and Servier. Money is still moving to companies with a clear asset or a validated platform. Coming up, July 17th, the 5 named pharmas respond to the House China Trials probe. July 31st, Section 232 pharma tariffs effective for large companies. August 2026, Replimune RP1 FDA response. August 22, Capricor Deramiocel, PDUFA Advisory Committee pending. Imminent, Revolution Medicines, CNPV filing. Lilly Foundayo, T2D filing. Read, Full Analysis, Biomed, Nexus. Pro Institutional Intelligence Brief, Why GLP-1s Finally Cracked. MASH, long called NASH, has been one of the most punishing targets in drug development. For 2 decades, companies poured billions into it and came away with failed trials and withdrawn filings. The disease is silent, the endpoints are hard to measure, and the biology is tangled up with the whole metabolic system. That last point is exactly why GLP-1s are succeeding where dedicated liver drugs struggled. Is not really a standalone liver problem. It is the liver's expression of the same metabolic dysfunction that drives obesity and type 2 diabetes. Attack the upstream metabolic disease with a GLP-1 and the liver improves along with everything else. That is the insight the field missed for years while chasing liver-specific mechanisms. For Novo, the UK MASH approval does 3 things. It extends Wegovy's runway well beyond the weight loss indication that will eventually face competition and pricing pressure. It deepens the clinical case for treating these patients early and keeping them on therapy, since the same drug now addresses multiple downstream complications, and it raises the bar for every dedicated MASH program still in development, which now has to prove it adds something a GLP-1 does not already deliver. The programs worth watching behind it are the ones with a differentiated angle rather than a Me Too liver play. Survodutide from Boehringer and Zealand is the clearest example, with a fat, selective profile that could pair with or improve on GLP-1 monotherapy. The dedicated MASH names that only match what a GLP-1 already does are the ones most exposed now. AstraZeneca's China timing. The AstraZeneca and CSPC renal collaboration is small in dollar terms but useful as a read on industry behavior. It tells you the deal side of the house is not going to freeze just because the policy side got loud. Here is the strategic logic. The companies signing China deals are making a bet that the science and cost advantages are durable, and that the political friction, while real, will land as added review and disclosure rather than outright prohibition. The pending Biotech Investment National Security Act would route licensing deals through Treasury review, which is a speed bump, not a wall. A research collaboration on early-stage nucleic acid drugs is well below the threshold that draws the committee's attention, which is why AstraZeneca could move now without much risk. For BD teams, the lesson is about sequencing. Early-stage research tie-ups in non-sensitive areas carry little political risk today and can be signed freely. Large licensing deals for late-stage assets, especially anything touching trial data from sensitive sites, now carry a political premium that has to be priced and increasingly timed. Expect companies to keep doing the small deals openly while getting more careful about how and when they announce the big ones. Ipsen and the mid-cap hunt correcting our own record, Ipsen did 2 separate deals, not one blended transaction. Kartos brought in navtemadlin for 450 million upfront, an MDM2 blocker positioned as an add-on to ruxolitinib in myelofibrosis. The up to $1.75b figure was a separate bid for Memo Therapeutics and its candidate Petravitug. 2 deals at once from a French mid-cap is the real story, and it reinforces the theme we have been tracking. The M&A wave is no longer a big pharma phenomenon. Mid-caps like Ipsen and biotechs like Zymeworks are buying alongside the Lillys and AbbVies, which tells you the driver is structural. Everyone with a franchise to defend is shopping, and the assets in demand are the same across the size spectrum. Late stage, de-risked in oncology or immunology or rare disease. When a mid-cap does 2 deals in a week, it is not being opportunistic. It is racing the same clock as everyone else. Catalyst calendar date event tickets. July 17 Palmer responses due to House China Trials Probe, MRK, ABBV, LLY, PFE, BMY July 31, Section 232 Pharma Tariffs. Effective large companies. Multiple August 2026 Replimune RP1 FDA response Ripple August 22 Capricorn. Deramiotel PDUFA, AdCom pending, Cap Imminent Revolution Medicines, CNPV filing RVM Diminent Lilly, Foundayo T2D filing under CNPV LLY Q3 2026 Revolution, Deraxon Ray-Sib approval projected, Truist, RVMD Q3 2026 Unicure, Huntington's Gene Therapy under review, Cura Q3 2026 Regan XBIO, Duchenne Gene Therapy, BLA filing RGN Q3 2026 Teva, Emalex, close expected Teva Q3 2026 GSK, Nuvalent, close expected GSK Q3 2026 ABVI, Apogee, close expected ABBV Q3 2026 Merck, KGaA Biotechne, close expected MKKGY 1026, Nidasamtinib, and Niladalkib PDUFAs, ROS1, ALK GSK New VLH2, 2026 Merck SAK TMT, global filing, expected MRKH2 2026 Fundeo, T2D regulatory action expected LLOYH2 2026 Ajax registrational, trial initiation expected LOY 2026 Triumph H2 and Triumph H3 readouts, Rete True Tide, LY Sept 19 Ultragenics, UX1111, PDUFA, San Filippo Type A, Rare Sept 29 Section 232 Pharma Tariffs effective, all others, Multiple Deck 2026 Mineralis, Lorundrostat, PDU Families 2027 Rita True Tide, launch anticipated BMO, Yao Elidec 7 Lilly, investment community meeting Lelao Wegovy planted a flag in MASH and turned the obesity drug into a metabolic platform. AstraZeneca deepened a China tie while Washington started digging, and the mid-cap buyers keep hunting. This week we are watching the run up to the July 17th China deadline. What are you watching? Reply to this email. Visit the Pro Hub. Read full article. Is your company listed in the Biomed Nexus directory? 2,104 companies across 14 categories. Claim or upgrade your listing. Sponsorship slots for 2026 are limited. See packages and pricing. New Biomed Nexus signals weekly sales intelligence for life sciences BD teams. Learn more.